Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So I am here today with another video on Other Laws Chapter 1 Unit 2 Bailment and Pledge. So this time, along with handwritten notes from ICAI module, I have also covered each and every example given in ICAI module. There are total 27 examples for this unit and ICAI module, and I have covered each and every example in this video itself. It will become very helpful for you even one day before exam, where you can just quickly go through the video and memorize each and every example within few minutes itself. Also, the examples in ICAI module becomes very important for examination point of view, because many of the times it has been seen that most of the case study based questions comes directly from the examples given in the ICAI module. So I really hope you will like my efforts, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So let's start. Unit 2 Bailment and Pledge. Bailment as per section 148. So bailment means delivery of goods by one person to another for some purpose upon a contract that goods shall, when the purpose is accomplished, be returned or otherwise disposed of according to the directions of the person delivering them. So bailment means when one person delivers the goods to another person and there is a purpose for delivering those goods, and when the purpose is accomplished, the goods may be returned or disposed of as per the directions of the person delivering them. Then we have parties to bailment. So there are two parties in the contract of bailment. Number one is bailer and number two is bailee. So who is a bailer? He is a person delivering the goods. And who is the bailee? Person to whom goods are delivered. Now we will see examples of bailment from ICAI module. So example number 1, where X delivers his car for repair to Y. X is the bailer and Y is the bailee. So when Mr. X will deliver his car for getting repaired to Y, so here the person delivering the car will be bailer, that is Mr. X will be the bailer, and the person to whom the goods are delivered, that means Y, bailee. Then we have example 2. X delivers a piece of cloth to Y, a tailor, to be stitched into a suit. It is contract of bailment. Okay. Then we have example 3. Goods given to a friend for his own use without any charge is also a contract of bailment. Then we have example 4. X delivers goods to Blue Dart for carriage. Now we have essentials of bailment. So point number 1 is contract. So there must be a valid contract between bailee and bailer. Then we have delivery of goods. So there are two types of delivery: actual delivery and constructive delivery. So what is actual delivery? When goods are physically handed over to the bailee by the bailer. For example, delivery of a car for repair. So car is physically handed over to the bailee. So it is the actual delivery. Then we have constructive delivery. Delivery is made by doing anything that has effect of putting goods in the possession of the bailee or any other authorized person. So delivery of the key of the car for repair. In this case, we are not delivering the car, we are giving the key of the car. So it is a constructive delivery. Then we have purpose. So there must be a purpose for the contract of bailment. So there must be a purpose for delivering the goods, right? Then we have possession. So for making a contract of bailment valid, the goods must be in possession of the bailee. Now, change of possession does not lead to change of ownership. Goods can be in the possession of bailee for the purpose of the contract, but the bailee does not become the owner of those goods. Bailer only remains the owner of those goods. Now, servant in custody of goods of the master does not become a bailee because he does not have the possession. Okay, now having the possession and having the custody are two different things, right? So a servant in custody of goods of the master does not become a bailee because he does not have the possession of those goods. Then we have depositing ornaments in bank locker is not bailment, right? Then we have return of goods. Return in same form as given. So in the contract of bailment, the goods must be returned in the same form as in the form given, right? So cannot deliver some other goods even of the higher value. So ऐसा नहीं चलेगा अगर किसी ने आपको गोल्ड दिया तो आप उससे ज्यादा वैल्यू का डायमंड उन्हें दे दे, राइट? अगर किसी ने आपको गोल्ड दिया है तो आपको उनका वही गोल्ड रिटर्न करना पड़ेगा. Then we have deposit of money in bank is not bailment since money returned would not be identical currency notes. Now we have types of bailment on the basis of reward. So there are two types of bailment, gratuitous bailment and non-gratuitous bailment. So in case of gratuitous bailment, provider does it free of charge. So there is no charge in case of gratuitous bailment. So okay, it is for the exclusive benefit of bailer or for the exclusive benefit of the bailee. So either bailer or bailee are going to get benefit out of this bailment. Whereas in case of non-gratuitous bailment, both parties get some benefit. Okay. Now we have duties of a bailer. So first is bailer's duty to disclose faults in goods bailed. So in case of gratuitous bailment, bailer is responsible for damage by fault he is aware of. Whereas in case of non-gratuitous bailment, he is responsible for damage by fault whether he is aware or not. Now we will understand this from examples from ICI module. So example number 5. A lends a horse which he knows to be vicious to B. Vicious means khatarnak. He does not disclose the fact that the horse is vicious. The horse runs away. B is thrown and injured. A is responsible to B for damage sustained. Okay, so in case of gratuitous bailment, the bailer is responsible only if he knows that there is a fault in the good. So in the given case, A lends the horse which he knows. So that means bailer knows that there is a default in the good. So therefore, bailer is responsible to the bailee. That means therefore A is responsible to B for the damages sustained. Next we have example number 6. A hires a carriage of B. The carriage is unsafe though B is not aware of it. So in this case, the bailer is not aware of the fact that the good is unsafe and A is injured. B is responsible for A for the injury. So in case of non-gratuitous bailment, bailer is responsible to bailee whether he was aware of the fault in the good or not. So therefore in the given case, B is responsible to A for the injury. We have a case study here. In Hyman and Wife v. Nye and Sons 1881, A hired from B a carriage along with a pair of horses and a driver for a specific journey. During the journey, a bolt in the underpart of the carriage broke away. As a result for this, the carriage became upset and was injured. And A was injured. It was held that B was liable to pay damages to A for the injury sustained by him. The court observed that it was the bailor's duty to supply a carriage fit for the purpose for which it was hired. Sometimes the goods bailed are of dangerous nature. Example, explosives. In such cases, it is the duty of the bailor to disclose the nature of the goods. Next is duty to pay necessary expenses. In case of gratuitous bailment, it is the duty of the bailor to pay all the necessary as well as extraordinary expenses. Whereas in case of non-gratuitous bailment, the bailor have to pay only the extraordinary expenses. So we have example number 7 for this. A hired a taxi from B for the purpose of going to Gurgaon from Noida. During the journey, a major defect occurred in the engine. A had to pay 5,000 as repair charges. These are the extraordinary expenses and it is the bailor's duty to bear such expenses. However, the usual and ordinary expenses for petrol, toll, tax, etc. are to be borne by the bailee itself. So, as it is the case of non-gratuitous bailment, only the extraordinary expenses are to be borne by the bailor and not the ordinary and usual expenses. Next is duty to indemnify bailee for premature termination. So, when the bailor is finishing the contract before its maturity, then it is the duty of the bailor to compensate the bailee for any loss caused to him due to this act. Next is bailor's responsibility to bailee to indemnify for any loss. So it is similar to the previous point, duty to indemnify bailor for premature termination. Next is duty of bailor to receive back the goods. So it is the duty of the bailor to receive back the goods. He cannot deny, and if the bailor refuses, then bailee can claim compensation for all necessary expenses which he has incurred for safe custody. Now we have example number 8 in module for this. X delivered his car to S for 5 days for safe keeping. However, X did not take back the car for 1 month. In this case, S claim the necessary expenses incurred by him for the custody of the car. So, it was the duty of X to take back the goods after 5 days, whereas X did not take back the car for 1 month. So, therefore, X is responsible to pay all the necessary expenses which S may have incurred in keeping his car for more than 5 days. Now we have duties of a bailee. It is the duty of the bailee to take reasonable care of the goods. There is an exception. In the absence of any special contract, bailee not liable for loss if he has taken the reasonable care as required. So we have example number 9 for this. If X bails his ornaments to Y and Y keeps these ornaments in his own locker at his house along with his own ornaments, and if all the ornaments are lost or stolen in a riot, Y will not be responsible for the loss to X. If on the other hand X specifically instructs Y to keep them in a bank, but Y keeps them at his residence, then Y would be responsible for the loss. Okay, so in first case, Y keeps these ornaments in his own locker at his own house along with his own ornaments. So he has taken the reasonable care as he's taking care of his own ornaments. So in this case, Y is not liable for any loss caused to the ornaments of Mr. X. But on the other hand, X has specifically instructed Y to keep them in a bank. But Y keeps them at his own residence. So in this case, Y would be responsible for the loss. Next is example number 10. A deposited his goods in B's warehouse. On account of unprecedented floods, a part of the goods were damaged. It was held that B is not responsible for the loss because the loss has taken place due to floods, which is a natural calamity, and therefore B is not liable for loss. Next duty of a bailee is not to make inconsistent use of goods. So if bailee makes any inconsistent use of the goods, so the contract is voidable at the option of the bailer. Okay. So it is at the option of the bailer whether he makes the contract valid or he makes the contract voidable. For this we have example number 11 from module. A lends a horse to B for his own riding only. For his own riding only. B allows C, a member of his family, to ride the horse. C rides with care, but the horse accidentally falls and is injured. B is liable to make compensation to A for the injury done to the horse. It is because why B is liable? Because he has made the inconsistent use of the good. A has said to B that the horse is for his own riding only, but B allows C, one of the member of his family, to ride the horse. Next we have example number 12. A hires a horse in Kolkata for B expressly to march to Varanasi. A rides with due care but marches to Calcutta, but marches to Cuttack instead. The horse accidentally falls and is injured. A is liable to make compensation to B for the injury to the horse. Why? Because B has said to march till Varanasi, but A has marched till Cuttack instead. So therefore, A has made inconsistent use of the good. Therefore, he is liable to make compensation to B. Now next is not to mix the goods. So it is a duty of the bailee that he should not mix the goods. Whereas if he mixes with consent of the bailer, then the goods will be returned to bailer in the interest and proportion of their share. Next we have mixes without the consent of the bailer. Then in this case, there are two possible scenarios. First is that the goods can be separated, and the other one is the goods cannot be separated. So if goods can be separated, in this case, bailee to bear expenses on separation plus any damages. And if goods cannot be separated, in this case, bailee have to compensate the bailer for the loss. We have example number 14 from module. A bails 100 bales of cotton marked with a particular mark to B. B, without A's consent, mixes the 100 bales with other bales of his own during a different mark. A is entitled to have his 100 bales returned, and B is bound to bear all expenses incurred in separation of the bales and any other incidental damages. So it is a case of where goods can be separated. So in this case, the bales can be separated because both the bales have different marks, right? So, and the goods are mixed without A's consent. So in this case, B have to bear the expenses on separation of the bales and all the other incidental damages. Now we have example number 15. A bales a barrel of Cape flour worth rupees 4500 to B. B, without A's consent, mixes the flour with country flour of his own worth only 2500 a barrel. B must compensate A for the loss of his flour. So it is the case where goods cannot be separated. Obviously, we cannot separate two types of flour, right? So in this case, B have to compensate A for the loss of his flour, right? Next duty of bailee is to return the goods. We have example number 16 for this. X delivered books to Y to be bound. Y promised to return the books within a reasonable time. X pressed for the return of the book, but Y failed to deliver them back even after the expiry of reasonable time. Subsequently, the books were burnt in an accidental fire at the premises of Y. In this case, Y was held responsible for the loss. Why? Mr. Y was held responsible for the loss because it was his duty to return the books to X in a reasonable time, but he failed to return the books in a reasonable time, in lieu of which it is the duty of Mr. Y now to compensate the loss. It is the duty of the bailee to return an accretion from the goods. Accretion means any increase or profit. We have example number 17 from module. A leaves a cow in the custody of B. The cow gives birth to a calf. B is bound to deliver the calf along with the cow to A because it is the duty of the bailee to return an accretion from the goods. Last is not to set up adverse title. So bailee cannot deny the title of the bailer. Now we have rights of a bailer. Right to terminate the bailment. So bailer have a right to end the contract of bailment. Then right to demand back the goods. If the bailer ends the contract of bailment in between, that means premature termination is there, and if due to premature termination or due to premature return of goods, bailee suffers any loss which is more than the benefit obtained by him. Focus on the fact that the bailee suffers any loss which is more than the benefit obtained by him. Then bailer has to compensate the bailee. We have example number 18 from module. A, while going out of station, delivered his ornaments to B for safe custody for 1 month. But A returned to station after 1 week. So he has given the ornaments for 1 month, but he has returned in 1 week. He may demand the return of his ornaments even though the time of 1 month has got expired. So bailer has full right to demand back his goods in between in case of premature termination also. Next is right to file suit against a wrongdoer. So bailer has full right to file a suit against a wrongdoer. Next is right to sue the bailee. In case of any of the non-compliance or misconduct by the bailee, bailer has full rights to sue him. Next is right to compensation. In case of any damage or any loss caused to bailer, he have full rights to claim compensation. Now we have rights of a bailee. So first right is right to deliver the goods to any one of the joint bailers. So bailee can deliver the goods to any one of the joint bailers. For this we have example number 19 of module. A, B and C are the joint owners of a harvesting combine. They delivered it on hire to D for 1 month. After the expiry of 1 month, D may return the combine to any one of the joint owners, namely A, B or C. So after the expiry of the time period, D can deliver the combine to any one of the joint owners. Next is right to indemnity. So bailee has a right to get indemnified for any loss or damage caused to him. Next is right to claim compensation in case of faulty goods. So it is similar to the previous point. Bailee has a right to claim compensation if the goods were faulty. Right to claim necessary expenses. So he has a right to claim all the necessary expenses which he have done on the good. Next is right to apply to the court to decide the title of the goods. If the bailee does not have a bailer with a definite title, so he can apply to the court so that court can decide who is the actual owner of the goods. We have example 20 for this. A dealer in TV delivered a TV to B for using in summer vacation. Subsequently, C claimed that the TV belonged to him as it was delivered only for repairs. So, A is a dealer of TV. He has delivered the TV to B for using in summer vacation. And C, he is also claiming that he is the owner of the TV as it was delivered only for repairs to A and thus B should deliver it to him. So now in this case B may apply to the court to decide the question of ownership of the TV so that he may deliver it to the right owner. Next is right of particular lien for payment of services and right of general lien. These 2 points will be discussed later in detail. Next is rights of bailer and bailee against any wrongdoer, which means any third party. So here we have suit by bailer and bailee against any wrongdoer. So bailer and bailee have a right to file a suit against any third party. Apportionment of relief or compensation obtained by such suit dealt with according to their respective interest. So whatever will be obtained as compensation or relief from such suit, it will be divided according to their respective interest. Next is termination of bailment. That means end of bailment on expiry of stipulated period. So whatever time period has been mentioned in the contract of bailment, after the expiry of that time period, the contract of bailment will terminate. On fulfillment of the purpose. So the purpose for which the bailer has sent the goods to bailee, when the purpose is accomplished, the contract of bailment will be terminated by notice. So if bailer wants, he can terminate the bailment by giving notice. By death. So by the death of either the bailee or the bailer, the contract of bailment will be terminated. Destruction of the subject matter. Next we have finder of lost goods. Right of finder of lost goods may sue for specific reward offer. So it is the right of the finder of lost goods that he may sue for the specific reward offered. So if reward is announced, then finder can sue if reward not given plus retain the goods. So if the owner of the goods have announced a reward, so the finder can sue if he does not give the reward, or can retain the goods also. It is not or, it is and. Okay. Next is reward not announced. If there is no reward announced by the owner of the goods, then finder can ask for reimbursement. And if the owner refuses, finder cannot sue but retain the goods. So if the reward is announced, in this case the finder can sue the owner of the goods. But if the reward is not announced, then the finder cannot sue. He can only ask for reimbursement. Next is when finder of things commonly on sale may send it. When finder of thing commonly on sale may sell it. If the owner cannot be found or the owner refuses to pay the lawful charges. So when can a finder of thing can sell the thing? When the owner cannot be found or the owner refuses to pay the lawful charges. But there are certain conditions. Condition number 1 is the article is in danger of perishing and losing the greater part of the value, or lawful charges of the finder amounts to 2/3 or more of the value of the article. So the lawful charges amounts to 2/3 or more of the value of the article found. Next is Bailey's particular lien. Rendered any service involving exercise of labor or skill in respect of goods bailed. Bailey has right to retain such goods until he receives due remuneration for the services he has rendered. He cannot sue. Okay? He cannot sue. If he delivers the goods without receiving his remuneration, he has right to sue. So if he delivers the goods without receiving his remuneration, then he can sue. So if he has retained the goods until he receives the remuneration, then he has no right to sue because he has already retained the goods. But if he delivers the goods without receiving the remuneration in respect of his services, then he has full right to sue. For this we have example number 21. A delivers a rough diamond to B, a jeweler, to be cut and polished, which is accordingly done. B is entitled to retain the stone until he is paid for the services he has rendered. Next is example 22. A gives clothes to B, a tailor, to make into a coat. B promises A to deliver the coat as soon as it is finished and to give a 3-month credit for the price. B is not entitled to retain the coat until he is paid. So why he is not entitled to retain the coat in this case? It is because he has already received the 3 months credit for the price. Next is general lien on bankers, factors, wharfingers, attorneys and policy brokers. In respect of the goods which come into their possession during the course of their profession, goods cannot be sold, can only be retained. So general lien is in respect of the goods which come in their possession during the course of their profession. Basically, these are the goods which are with them as a collateral security. For this, we have example number 23. A borrows 500 from the bank without security and subsequently again borrows another 1000 but with security. So he has borrowed 500 without security and borrowed another 1,000 with security of, say, certain jewelry. In this illustration, even where A has returned 1,000 being the second loan, the banker can retain the jewelry given as security to the second loan towards the first loan which is yet to be repaid. So the banker can retain the jewelry given as security to the second loan towards the first loan which is yet to be repaid. Now we have the next part, that is pledge. So bailment of goods as security for payment of a debt or performance of a promise is known as pledge. Here the bailer is known as the pawner and the bailee is known as the pawnee. So we have example number 24 for this concept. A lends money to B against the security of jewelry deposited by B with him. This bailment of jewelry is a pledge as security for lending the money. So this bailment of jewelry is a pledge as security for lending the money. B is pawner or pledger and A is pawnee or pledgee. Now we have essentials of a contract of pledge. First is, there shall be a bailment for security against payment or performance of the promise. So there shall be a bailment for security against payment or performance of the promise. Subject matter of pledges, goods. Goods pledged shall be in existence. There shall be delivery of goods from pledger to pledgee. Now we have rights of a pawnee or pledgee. Right to retain the pledged goods. So, pledgee or pawnee has complete rights to retain the goods pledged with him for non-payment of debt or non-compliance of the promise. For this we have example number 25, where M pledges stock of goods for certain loan from a bank. The bank has a right to retain the stock not only for adjustment of loan but also for payment of interest. Next is right to retention of subsequent debts. So pawnee has a right to retain the subsequent debts for non-payment of current debt. Next is pawnee's right to extraordinary expenses incurred. So pawnee has complete right to get indemnified for all the extraordinary expenses he has incurred. Next is pawnee's right where pawner makes default. So wherever the pawner will make default, pawnee will have the following rights. So first is, he may bring suit against the pawner and retain the goods pledged. Next is, he may sell the thing pledged on giving the owner reasonable notice of the same. In this case, there are two scenarios. So case 1 is the proceed of sale is less than the amount due in respect of debt, then pawner is still liable to pay the balance. And in case 2, if proceed of sale is more than the amount due in respect of the debt, in this case pawnee shall pay the surplus to the pawner. Next is pledge by non-owners. Pledge by mercantile agent. So, the mercantile agents with the consent of the owner can further pledge the goods. Pledge by person in possession under voidable contract. So, if a person is in possession of a good under a voidable contract, then such person can further pledge the goods. Next is pledge where pawner has only a limited interest. So this pledge is valid to the extent of that interest. For this we have example number 26 from module. Mr. X finds a defective mobile phone lying on the road. He picks it up, gets it repaired for rupees 5,000. He later pledges the mobile phone for rupees 2,000. The true owner can recover the mobile phone only by paying rupees 5,000. Next is pledged by a co-owner in possession. So a person who is a co-owner of a good and is in possession of that good can pledge the good. Next is pledged by seller or buyer in possession. So a seller or a buyer who is in possession of that good can further pledge it. So we have an example for this. A buys a cycle from B but leaves the cycle with the seller. B then pledges the cycle with C, who does not know of sale to A and acted in good faith. So this is a valid pledge. It is because C is not aware of the fact that the cycle belongs to A. That's why C has acted in good faith, so the pledge is valid. So with this, we end this chapter. We have covered each and every example given in ICI module for this chapter. There are total 27 examples and we have covered each and every example in this video itself. And I hope you all liked this video. Very soon I will be uploading my next video on the remaining unit of this chapter, that is agency. So do subscribe my channel so that you will not miss any of the important updates. Thank you.